Hi, I'm Gina, creator and host of Feminine Roadmap Podcast, the podcast that is designed to have real talk around all things midlife and strategies to help us live a more vibrant second half. It is my deepest desire to help other people shift the conversation toward empowerment, toward vibrancy, toward excitement about what life has for us and what we can bring to the world, how we can each individually shine our light. So I invite you to grab a cup of something wonderful, to join me each week or when you can, and join me in my living room to have these conversations. And if you are enjoying this, please take the time to subscribe wherever you listen, rate my podcast, and share the episodes that help you, the episodes that encourage you. Let's build this community together. Welcome to my tribe. I'm so grateful you're here. Hello, Feminine Roadmappers. Welcome back to Feminine Roadmap Podcast, the podcast that helps you navigate the challenges and changes of midlife and to build a more vibrant second half. And here we are in February 2022. What happened to my life? I just cannot believe it. It's so funny. I was talking to my family about science fiction movies when we were kids. I didn't watch a lot of them, but I remember it's like, you know, my husband, when we got married, would show me these really silly things. And it was like, oh yeah, they were talking about the 2000s, like 2025 or whatever. And like, you know, it was this really crazy world. People were dressed in tinfoil and they were in flying saucers and they were wearing space suits. And it's like, yep, here we are, 2022. We're not dressed like the Jetsons. We are not doing anything the Jetsons did. Although I do understand that they're trying to get cars to drive themselves. I'm going to be completely honest. I am not ready for a car to drive itself. I need a little bit more control than that. But February 2022, where are we? This is a check-in from me. This is stuff that's been on my heart and mind that I wanted to share with you. So this is just a coffee chat today. Technically, I'm not drinking coffee. I am drinking the fall edition of a kombucha called Gratitude. I really like it. It has turmeric in it. And so I've got my Paris is always a good idea cup with my Gratitude kombucha in it. And next to me in my Smile bowl, I have some treats from Trader Joe's. I have these awesome dark chocolate sea salt covered almonds. And then I have the Power Berries. If you've never had Power Berries, let me tell you something. Yum. Dark chocolate. I am a dark chocolate fan, start to finish, all of the time. So I've got my treats, which I probably won't eat while I talk. It's not always a good idea to eat chocolate while you're talking on a podcast, but it's there as a reward when I'm done. So I'm drinking my kombucha and I just kind of wanted to touch base a little bit. You know, I'm turning, are you ready for this? Drum roll, please. 55. Do you realize that when we were like kids, you know, our grandparents were this age? It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, that's puzzling. I was doing the math. I was trying to figure out how old my grandparents were when I was born. And I was like, oh my gosh, they weren't that old, you know. Perspective is everything, right? When you hit 55, it's not old, but when you're a kid, everybody 55 is pretty much dead. So it's funny how perspective changes. But my husband was telling me that he saw somewhere that the same amount of time from 1918 to 1970 is the same span of time as 1970 to 2022. What? Great. That's how it made me start kicking into this idea of like, how old were my grandparents? Holy cow. My grandparents were instrumental in my upbringing. My mom was a single mom. And so I was just thinking, gosh, at my age, my grandpa was doing X, Y, and Z. And it was just one of those mind-blowing things that crosses your mind, you know, when you have a little time on your brain's hands and it starts wandering down paths. So here we are, February 2022. As of this recording, my birthday is in 2 days, but as of the airing, my birthday will have passed a few days prior. So I am 54 now, but when you hear this, I will be 55. So we have Valentine's, we have my birthday. And I don't know about you, I love birthdays. I do not shy away from birthdays. I love to celebrate birthdays. And in my family, the home that I have built with my husband, the house and home here, we celebrate birthdays on a big scale. We decorate, we take a week and we like do extra little fun things leading up to the birthday. And we just make a really big deal out of it. And I love that. So my husband has already bought me a bouquet of flowers to kick off my birthday week, which is the best. We're kicking off one of my favorite weeks of the year. And I just kind of wanted to talk about, perspective in life and how when we get to midlife, we really have ideas of how we would have liked life to be, maybe where we thought we would be financially, or where we thought we would live, or how we thought we would look, or how we thought we would feel, or what we thought our kids would be doing. And, the list goes on and on and on. And I just find that this whole thing about getting older every year, because if you're blessed, it happens to everyone. And it is a gift to be able to celebrate a birthday. It is a gift to be able to say, I have another day of life to do the things that are in my heart to do, to have the impact in the world around me that I want to have. And so for some people, that impact is just in their family. And that is the greatest thing that anybody can ever do, is to have a powerful impact, positive, loving, gracious impact inside of their family. Anything outside of that is gravy. So I just was thinking, as you turn 55, it's kind of an odd, kind of a quirky number. People worried. I remember women being worried about turning 50, but 55 is like, 55. My instant thought was Disney. Disneyland opened in 1955. I have a jacket from Disneyland that says 55. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to celebrate with Disney all year long. 55, baby. But the perspective that I have is life is really a gift. And even if I don't know what the future holds, and maybe things aren't exactly the way I thought they would be, it's still a gift to be here. As I look over the 4 solid years of podcasting I've done, and I'm going into my 5th year, I still have this opportunity to engage with so many people in my age group and older who have these experiences that I haven't had. And they have these perspectives that maybe I haven't thought of before. It expands my world. And there's just this amazing reality that everyone is living life, right? Everything is happening to us at different paces and in different ways, in different seasons. And we're all going through this thing together. And it's so easy to feel isolated or to feel separate from. And I really wanted to encourage you that this journey that we're taking in midlife, this is really a common experience that we're all having. It may be looking different, but the emotions, the disappointments, the frustrations, we're in this thing together. And when your birthday comes up, I would love to have you take the time to think about all the ways that life has twisted and turned and got you to where you are, and all the unexpected blessings that have come into your life. I just think of how much things have changed since I had my kids. My girls and I were talking about this, technology and cell phones and internet and social media and all of these things, but in amongst that, we have parents that are aging. We have children that are launching. We have businesses that we may have built, jobs that we're leaving. Some people's marriages are struggling. And I really want to encourage us in midlife to pause and really reflect on the greater picture. If we're feeling like at this age, I expected XYZ to be in place, XYZ to happen, which I have some of those feelings myself, which is why I'm thinking about them. The reality is that none of us knows what the future holds, right? But we can make choices day to day to create, my word for 2022, create the life we want to live in this moment, in these relationships that we have. And a lot of times life is what we make of it. It's not like we are sitting back passively and life is just coming at us. I suppose we could live that way, but being 55 by the time this airs, I could potentially live another 30 years. Okay. I've already lived 55. So this is still 2/3 of the life I've already lived. Like my whole adult life, I have a whole nother adult life to live. Does that make sense? From 20 to 55 is 35 years. From 55 to 85 is 30 years. I still have half of an adult life to live, which means that my birthday is a gift and each day is a gift. And I still have a whole lifetime essentially to do things that I enjoy, to find new things that I enjoy, to meet new people that I will enjoy. I find that I can be very myopic and lose sight of the greater picture of my life. And I'm wondering if maybe you feel that same way. It's so easy to get lost in those disappointments, those unmet expectations, those stories that we hear about aging, and Betty White just recently passed, and you look at her life and she lived 99 years all out, and she did it all the way to the end. She had an amazing 70-year career. She made the choice to have an amazing life. I'm sure she had difficult things happen. I'm sure she didn't get all of the roles that she went for. I'm sure that she did not always feel that her life was what she wanted it to be. There were probably disappointments and unmet expectations in her life as well. But her attitude about life, to live it with that vibrancy, age is not important. It's what you're doing with the days you have that is important. And birthdays always make me think about, it's like you're getting another gift. This is another opportunity to what do you call it? Squeeze the life out of my time. We all have those days where we're not as productive as we would want to be, or we get into slumps. But my encouragement is, don't be depressed about birthdays. Don't get hung up on your age. Don't feel left out, passed by, looked over, whatever. We need to step up and create the life that inspires us. We need to create the relationships that fulfill us. And just a thought on relationships. We can create from our side of a relationship, and the person we are in relationship with, it is their responsibility to do their half. And I think there's an awful lot of grace that it takes to be in a long-term relationship with anyone, whether it be family or friend, husband, neighbor. We have to have that give and take, right? That accepting the differences, just understanding that we're not the same people. We don't have the same outlooks on life, and that's okay. That's the spice of life. I get emails all the time from PR companies, and, there's a lot about divorce. The pandemic apparently has destroyed a lot of marriages. And it's easy to think that, this pandemic destroyed a lot of marriages. Yet I see marriages that have been through traumatic brain injuries where one spouse is legitimately caring, physically caring for and helping rehabilitate, a perfectly healthy spouse who got in a car accident and now can't walk on their own, can't, use one of their arms. Laura B. Pilates is her name. Her husband, John, did 3 tours, I think, in Iraq, came home, and he and his buddy were driving, and they got in a car accident, and he had a traumatic brain injury, and he's still recovering. And she's seeing the miracles of the human brain, and she loves him. And she is this little bitty thing, and he's not a little bitty thing. And I watch her and I think, okay, who of us is really dealing with that? And it's not to compare and feel bad about ourselves, but it's like we can choose to do hard things. And there's another young lady, I don't know her name, but she's a newlywed. They've only been married 3 years, and he was diagnosed with ALS, and he's a completely different guy. He can no longer use his arms or legs. She has to feed him. He can kind of has a little bit of strength in his hand, but not much. or he has to put his face down to his plate to eat. And you just look at this, you've got this couple that's been married for years, traumatic brain injury, and the tenacity and the love she has for him, the commitment. Then you have this young couple, brand new, married, and she's watching her husband deteriorate before her eyes, and yet she's trying to create experiences for him. And again, I don't want this to be a comparison thing, but they're making choices, right? They're doing hard things and they're making choices, and they're finding love in the midst of a very difficult time. And that makes me reflect on the fact that I'm not dealing with any of that. You know, my life is really blessed. There are a lot of things that I'd still like to do. There's things on my house that need to be fixed, right? I am working on building back up a body that I'm happy in. These are all things that are life. This is life, you know? But I can look back over the 55 years of my life and I can think of all the people I've met, all the things I've done, all the experiences I've had, the places I've been, the foods I've eaten, the things I've tried, you know, like I've tried quilting and I've tried painting furniture and I've tried, you know, all kinds of things. I'm a try it all, see what it's like. Now I'm on this next level of my art journey where I'm painting with palette knives and acrylic, and I'm doing watercolor, and I've done like 3 or 4 paint and sip classes for our yoga retreats, where I get to share what I love, which is art, with 8 women who may or may not have ever painted before in their lives. I never thought I'd be doing that. I was painting for me. Let's be completely honest. I just wanted the joy of painting. And then I'm also doing house paintings where my friend is a real estate agent. She wanted to give gifts to her new clients. So when they buy a house, I paint a picture of their house. I draw it and paint it in watercolor. And I'm now a paid commissioned artist. I did not see that coming. So these are the things where it's like, hey, wait a minute. There's adventures in this life. I started down a path. It's taken me places I didn't know it was going to take me. And these are the things that I would love to encourage you as you approach your next birthday, as you approach this year. You know, look back and go, man, what have I done? Where have I been? Who have I met? Some of those things were great. Some of them were painful, but they've all contributed to who you are and how much you can take from those experiences and move forward with excitement and expectation, right? What kind of life do you want to create? For me, I'm literally taking my word of the year, which is create. If you haven't listened to me before, go back to my New Year 2022. It says Happy New Year 2022. True story. I actually launched it Happy New Year 2020. And I realized after it aired that I'd got it wrong. And I had to actually go into my platform, take the whole thing off and do it all again because I put the wrong year. So, you know, there's that. 5 years of in my 5th year of podcasting, my first one solo, I made a huge mistake, but it's okay. I just went back and fixed it. Right. So my word is create. So if you haven't heard that podcast, you can go check that out. It's called Happy New Year 2022. It's in January. Don't remember the episode number and I don't have it in front of me at the moment. Wait, here's my book. I bet I can tell you, like all the paper sounds. It was 253, episode 253. So go check it out. But my word is create. And so each day when I'm journaling, I write the word create in my journal and I think, what do I want to create? And I allow myself to just write it all down. And a lot of these things, I wouldn't know how to make them happen. I'm going to be completely honest. But wouldn't it be great if it did? I'm creating an online course right now for people who want to build their reinvention plan for their midlife. And I'm in the middle of that because I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the middle of the course. I'm in the middle of my content. I'm in the middle of practicing what I preach. And I want to share that with you. When it launches, I will let you know. It is going to be good. And February is my month to finish creating that course. I have the framework. I have to record all the lessons on video and put them up and launch it. So stay tuned for that. This is my accountability, but that's one of the things I love to teach. People say I'm a good teacher and I want to share what I'm learning. Not that I'm the expert, but you know what? I'm practicing what I preach. And I know people who have used it. And I've talked to so many guests, and so much of what I believe has been confirmed through their lives. And I want to encourage you that you can, by baby steps, move toward a greater goal. There's also something out there, and I don't know if you've heard of this. You'll be getting this podcast before it starts, so it'd be kind of a good thing if you're interested. It's called the 100-Day Project. You can check it out on Instagram. You can go to the 100dayproject.com. Might be .org. It's the 100-Day Project. If you Google it, it will pop up. But this gal started this like 7 years ago. And it's just, you choose a project and you do baby steps every day for 100 days. It could be art. It could be writing. It could be repairing something. It could be cleaning out your garage. It could be whatever you want to be, or it could be several things, but if you look at creating the life that you want, because my word is create, so you're probably going to hear this a bajillion times every time you hear from me, but what 100-day project could you do that every day you could show up for 5 minutes, you could show up for an hour, it's totally up to you, to move towards something that you've been meaning to do or something you've been wanting to try, and see where you get in 100 days. And there's a hashtag and there's a community. It's the whole thing, but it's like, it's a good community where you could jump in and see what other people are doing. A lot of them are artists, but the gal who started it, when she was writing one year, and hers was writing, your 100-day project could be, she does say she wants it to be something that you will enjoy, something that you won't hate doing for 100 days. But, even if you did 30 or 60 days of the 100 days every day, imagine the progress that you can make. So I want you to really think about, celebrating my birthday and thinking about, wow, look at the life I have created with my husband, the relationships with my children, the things I've accomplished. I look back sometimes, and if somebody says, I'll write down all the things I've done in my life, and people are like, okay, seriously, what haven't you done? Because I very much like to try all the things. So I was a cheerleader in high school and college. I've sung in a gospel choir. In high school, I was the princess for a soccer league. I was crowned Miss Independiente, and that was a hoot and a giggle. Because my neighbor just needed a princess for their team, and then I ended up winning, and it was totally like, oh, okay, great. I have a sash. It's really kind of funny. And I've traveled to Europe for 4 weeks with my daughter. I have homeschooled. I've coached volleyball and basketball. I've quilted. I've painted furniture. I've tried my hand at bookmaking. I have been a women's ministry leader. I learned to play the guitar, and I was a worship leader and not a very good guitar player, but I led worship for my Bible study and for our small church. And obviously I've sung solos. So I've done singing. I've played instruments. I did violin in elementary school. Let's just say that I did violin in elementary school. Stick me in any normal kid orchestra, and that was totally me. I've tried my hand at gardening. I've tried my hand at all kinds of things. And I'm sure your life is the same way. There is no reason you can't continue on that path moving forward. Right? I've walked 5Ks. I did some Disney runs. We did some bubble runs. You name it. It's fun. I've tried baking bread. I've tried doing sourdough. I've done cooking. I've done cooking classes. What have you done? Literally think about all the things you've done in your life, the life that you have created, and really think about, in that life, what did you love? And in that life, what would you like to change? One of the things, this is just a personal opinion, so let me put the disclaimer out there that for me, I do talk with a lot of women who felt like leaving their marriage was going to make them happier. Now, whether it did or didn't, I don't know. And whatever you choose to do, this isn't a judgment. I just observe that as a married woman and a very strong personality, I find that when I have my mind and my thoughts in the wrong place, it's harder for me to be content in my marriage. And I do think that a lot of marriages could be better and could be saved if two people were willing to view their marriage differently. And so maybe for you, creating a better relationship with your spouse might be a good goal. Because a lot of times in relationships, someone's just waiting for someone to make the first move. For whatever reason, we don't want to be the first one, or we're too busy being proud, or we're too busy holding to our principles, or whatever it is. What was that line from the movie? There you go again. He's alone with his principles, or something like that. And I just think, you know, in this time where I get to chat with you, I want to share some of my heart this new year. I want to create more connection with you in 2022. And what that means is I just kind of want to share really what's on my heart. And I really have a heart for people's marriages to survive, not just survive, but to thrive. And what does that look like? And I think it takes a lot of grace and patience and resilience. We need to understand that there's a give and take that happens in relationships. And a lot of the times we're more patient with our friends, our difficult friends, than we are with our spouses. And it may be difficult because, you know, we're two people and we're growing at different rates and we're experiencing life differently, because even though we're married and we've spent all these years together, we're still not the same person. And we're shaped by the experiences that we've had, the childhoods that we have. A lot of us carry wounds from our childhood, and that affects how we behave as adults. And there's so many ways that we can grow and get healthy and make a different choice, to consider what would it look like to create a different environment for our marriage, to create a safe space for our marriage, and to investigate and get to know each other in this season of life. And where are you at? Because my mother-in-law passed away last year, this time last year, we were heading into a pretty rough patch of time from February to the end of May. It kind of started in January. So the first half of 2021 was really rough, really emotional, lots of triggers. And, you know, it opened the door for my husband and I to talk through some things that maybe we hadn't talked through before because it didn't come up, and helping him navigate his emotions, and me feeling like I don't know what to do with his triggers. And so it was a really hard year in a lot of ways for our marriage. But I think if we can stay curious about our partners and see them as someone that we really don't know everything about, we don't even know everything about ourselves. And there's this mindset we could adopt of curiosity. I wonder how this affected, you know, my partner. How does my husband feel about this? You know, what does grieving look like for him? You didn't cry. Is there a reason you didn't cry? Like, are you feeling okay? I still check in with him because we're hitting the season where everything went haywire last year. And sometimes we drive past where she used to live and it brings up the conversation. And that's just an example in my life of how it's not static, it's changing, and there's shades to it. And there's different moments and different emotions that come up in my life. And there's different moments and emotions that come up in my husband's life. And just thinking about this new year, it's easy for a lot of people to bail on their marriages when in reality, maybe it doesn't need to be bailed on. Maybe we just need to double down and reframe ourselves, reframe how we look at marriage, reframe how we look at our spouses, and really consider, you know what? I go through life with, say, a girlfriend. I put up with all of the stuff she does. If she's late, if she cancels on me or whatever, I have no one in mind, just in case you friends are listening. I'm just trying to think of how we women are so patient with our girlfriends. Why are we not that patient with our husbands? So of course we're different people. And of course they irritate us, but you know, newsflash, I'm sure we irritate them too. Hello. I doubt that we are like these wonderful princesses that never do things that aren't irritating. So that's just my little encouragement about marriage. I want to encourage people to recommit to their marriages and help their marriages thrive. I also want you to think about, and a lot of my conversations have been about reinventing yourself, loving yourself, blah, 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 self. Okay. So as I thought about this new year and creating, one of the conversations in my head has been, okay, I really want to make sure that I take a moment to give you my perspective on that, because I want to be careful to frame it not in a selfish way. In other words, we do need to build ourselves up. We do need to take care of ourselves. We need to take time out and do the things we love. We need to read the books that we love, listen to music that we love. We need to have a corner of the world that feeds our soul. Absolutely. We need to take care of our bodies. We need to exercise, drink water, and sometimes we just need to be alone in the bathtub with candles. Don't talk to me. Totally okay. But I think if we love ourselves to the degree that we love ourselves more than anyone else, and the focus becomes so myopic that it's all about me, I don't know how our relationships are going to thrive, or our life for that matter. I think we have to be careful not to become mini narcissists in the process. And so sometimes I look back over my content list and I think, oh, if you were to listen to this one piece without any context, it could easily sound like I'm like, you're the center of the universe. You're the most important person in your life. And this is my opportunity to say, I wholeheartedly believe we do need to be mindful of ourselves. We need to be mindful of our energy, making sure we're rested, that we eat well, that we have a life that's fulfilling. But the goal in my mind is, as I do those things for me, it's so that I can better serve my family and my community. If I stop with me, I'm going to crash my relationships and my opportunities. So maybe you know that, maybe you're struggling with that, and then remembering that everyone we're in relationship with, they also need their own space. They also need their own interests. So I think that's what makes life feel the way it does sometimes. Like, I was talking to a friend about how there's something about this season of life where I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to, like, not that I haven't always been that way, because technically that's my personality. If I don't want to do something, I don't care who wants me to do it. That's how I kept out of trouble as a young person. So I was like, no, I don't want to. And so for me specifically, I don't want to is not a hard thing to say, but I think for a lot of women, it's difficult to set boundaries, right? And so sometimes some relationships do need to be revamped. Some relationships do need to be let go. In our in our friend circles and in our families, we sometimes need to set boundaries. But I think marriages can be that great experiment where we open ourselves up and we commit to, outside of abuse, because that's my caveat all the time. I grew up in an abusive home. And so I do not approve of women staying with an emotionally, physically, or mentally abusive man. Let's get that out there. If you've listened to me any amount of time, I will say that. I will say that until I die. You do not live with a man who treats you that way. You don't. If he wants to get help and change, great, but not while you're being abused in the process. That's my opinion on that. But a normal marriage, I want to encourage you. Why did you marry the person that you married? Why did you fall in love with them? What do you love about them? And what ways have you changed? And how can you find something new to share together? I think it's really easy to want to quit at this age. I find a lot of people that are just like over it, whatever it is. They're just over it and they don't want to try anymore. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're restless, But as I'm turning 55, I'm really trying to think trying to weaponize my age. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to buy into the stories. I'm not going to buy into the diatribe, the ageism, the blah, blah, blah. I am Gina. Gina gets to choose what Gina thinks. Gina gets to choose what Gina wants to do, within reason, of course. But the world doesn't get to tell me, okay, yeah, my face and my body are changing. But guess what? That is not my value. That's something that's part of me. But who I am on the inside, who you are on the inside, your brilliant mind, your beautiful heart, your gorgeous soul, that is who you are. And that is the thing that I want us to tap into in this new year. I want you to create a space for that you to be the important focus, so that your mind, heart, and soul are coming more and more alive each day. And you're doing more and more of those things that you were created to do. That's what a birthday is. It's a reminder like, dang, look at you. You've done this many years. You go. Celebrate that. Buy yourself flowers. Take yourself out for your favorite cup of coffee. Get yourself a smile bowl with those wonderful almonds and power berries. You know what? Enjoy the life you've been given. Some people don't get to do that. Let's not waste a year or an hour of our lives. I struggle with this too, and that's why I'm talking to you about it. I get down in this place where it's not what I expected. I'm not where I thought I'd be. There's a lot of things I've had to give up to care for my mother-in-law and some for my mother, time and energy and dreams. I've 4 years. The only thing I did was podcast. I had nothing else going because I just couldn't do it. And you know what? Those are the seasons of life that somehow we just have to trust that this too shall pass. It's not going to last forever. And every day is a new opportunity to create in this moment a feeling. So I can choose to be negative or positive. A feeling I can choose to be grateful or ungrateful. A feeling I can choose to focus on joy or the lack of it, right? And emotions aren't everything, but what we think affects how we feel. So really, if our feelings are the problem, we need to think about what we're thinking. And that's been totally true for me. And the last year was really kind of a little bit of a wilderness experience. I was so into the caregiving and navigating my mother-in-law's failing health and communicating with the family and communicating with the doctors. And I kind of got lost in the process and crash landed round about June after her funeral. And I literally took almost the rest of the year. My husband, of course, lost his mother. So please understand that I was not alone in this. My husband and I were both exhausted, and it had an impact because he had an emotional journey, not so much from his mom dying, but from all the impact of what we had been through. And so, sometimes we do have to extend grace to ourselves and give ourselves a season of recovery, and that is totally fine. I think that's healthy. I think we need to honor the aging process and where we find ourselves. Grace, lots and lots of grace. That's what I keep coming back to. The word grace has been something I wrote it on I had used some paint on a small canvas, my favorite colors of purples. And then I wrote in white paint, grace. Why did I write that? Because grace is so important in our lives. Grace with ourselves, grace in our relationships, grace in our marriages. It just takes a lot of grace. We, my friends, are imperfect people. None of us get it right all the time. None of us are at our best all the time. None of us meet all the expectations. None of us have all of our expectations met. It's okay. Birthdays are a reminder that you've made it this far, and you just take another step. Take another step toward creating the life that you dream of having. Be the person that you need to be to have the relationships that you want to have, and find that curiosity and wonder in your life again. See what God has for you. See what life has for you. For me, I believe God has a purpose for every person on earth. And if you have another birthday, he's not done with you yet. So friends, this is my birthday message. 1, celebrate your birthday. What a gift another day of life is. And the age is just a reminder of all the things you've done and been and experienced. And we have so much more life to live if God is gracious to us to give it to us. So I want to encourage you, celebrate your birthdays. Enjoy the reminder that they are. 2, I want you to take the time to create what brings you joy. In your relationships, become the person you need to be. In your home, declutter, redecorate, rearrange. I just did a project with my art space. I took a whole bunch of books down off of the bookshelf and rearranged my art supplies. Now the space is less cluttered and I love it. Of course, now I have to figure out what to do with the books, but that's another thing. I need to do a book exchange. I've got books. Maybe I'll make a list and see if anybody wants a copy of a book. I love books. I need a secret library is what I actually need. So there you go. Make yourself a secret library. I would love to if I could figure that out. And the third thing I want to say is you are worthy of the life you want to live. As imperfect, and maybe you feel broken, bruised, tired, worn out. I don't know where you're at. You might be joyful, enthused, on the top of the world. Wherever you find yourself, you are worthy of living this next season of your life with joy and purpose, and you were created for it. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Thank you for listening to my podcasts, for giving me time. I know how valuable time is. And like I said, I'm working on that online course. My goal is to have it launched here in February, and you will be the first to know. But if you head on over to www.feminineroadmap.com/257, you will see a little pop-up that comes up, and you can give me your name and email address. I send out emails probably once a month on a good binge. Sometimes I try to do it twice. I'm just not the best at sending emails, but I definitely don't spam you. So there's the good news. And you'll be the first to know if anything's going on. I want to thank you again for giving me some of your time. Please take the time to subscribe, rate, and share this podcast. If you could subscribe and rate, that alone would help my podcast be more visible to people who need to find us. I look forward to giving you more great content, more guests, more thoughts from Gina in the weeks to come. I'm so grateful for you. Have a wonderful week, my friends. Bye-bye.